Some players build settlements for aesthetics, others for defense, and others because taming a patch of digital chaos feels like reclaiming agency. If Fallout 4 awakened that instinct in you, these 7 games take that same impulse and mutate it in surprising directions. Number 1. Valheim. Valheim is what happens when someone looks at modular building and asks, but what if gravity had feelings? At first glance, it resembles most survival crafting systems, snapping beams, neat walls, and the satisfying rectangle that eventually becomes a house. The twist is that Valheim demands structural integrity. Fallout lets you build a 3-story shack balanced on a single chair, because optimism is a structural material. Valheim instead lets physics file formal complaints. Every piece has a stress color. Blue means grounded, green is comfortable, yellow is nervous, orange is stressed, and red is actively drafting its last words. Large halls require interior supports, diagonal bracing, and stone foundations. In other words, you are building something that could theoretically stand in Scandinavia if zoning laws allowed Viking fortresses. Progression is tied to exploration rather than population growth. There are no settlers yelling about needs, no supply lines, and no economy of probably stolen junk. Instead, you tame boars, wolves, and other fauna because apparently medieval Scandinavia outsourced basic settlement labor to the local wildlife. Biome progression unlocks new building materials, turning starter huts into wooden longhouses and stone keeps. Raid events punctuate the building loop. They're predictable rather than radiant, which means you have time to dig moats, raise palisades, or build a meaningful gate instead of leaving a hole and calling it design choice. The result is a base that feels earned, something that could theoretically stand in a windy valley full of trolls. Main strengths: modular, piece-based building that supports start small, grow big settlement progression. Real structural integrity system makes big builds feel earned. Defense-minded settlement design is rewarded. For example, traps or choke points during raids. Strong gather resources upgrade home loop that scratches the Fallout 4 scrap and build cycle. Main weaknesses: no human settler job/needs loop. It's not a town management sim like Fallout 4. Structural integrity can feel restrictive if you prefer Fallout 4's more permissive building. Number 2. 7 Days to Die. 7 Days to Die answers the age-old question. What if Minecraft and tower defense had a child and raised it in a hostile environment full of Karens? Its voxel system allows generous creativity, curved walls, cantilevered walkways, panic rooms, panic tunnels, and the panic that ties everything together. The catch is that every 7th day, a horde arrives to inspect your architecture and provide unfiltered feedback. The feedback is always the same. Your support pillars could be stronger. Zombie AI is surprisingly judgmental. It doesn't just run forward. It evaluates paths, climbs slopes, targets weak points, and occasionally forms conga lines if it thinks it can reach your exposed wiring. Kill corridors, electric fences, spinning blade traps, and turrets become more than decoration. They're required coursework. Material progression creates a satisfying arc. Wood becomes cobblestone. Cobblestone becomes concrete. Concrete becomes steel. And eventually your home resembles a Cold War bunker designed by someone who values survival over interior design. Mid-game introduces electricity, which lets you build automated traps, motion sensor turrets, and impressive power grids that exist solely to preserve the sanctity of your kitchen. Aesthetics are possible, but the pressure of Horde Night tends to funnel most players into functional brutalism, with occasional patio furniture. Fallout raids feel like inconveniences. 7 Days raids feel like final exams where the subject is structural engineering under stress. Main strengths: Scavenge Craft Loop strongly feeds base upgrades similar to Fallout 4's junk economy. Base defense is real. Horde attacks push you to design walls, choke points, and kill zones like a turreted Fallout settlement. Electricity plus traps let you build functional defenses, dart traps, turret-style setups. Voxel building gives huge freedom for custom structures and rebuilds after attacks. Material tier upgrades give that satisfying settlement tech level progression. Main weaknesses: Minimal settler slash town fantasy. No residents with jobs slash shops like Fallout 4. Horde Night meta can push builders toward efficiency-first trap bases over cozy roleplay builds. The building loop can feel more combat-driven than community-driven. Number 3. Conan Exiles. Conan Exiles takes settlement building and combines it with labor management, religion, siege warfare, and a mild case of fantasy HR violations. Bases aren't just structures, they're production ecosystems powered by captured thralls who craft weapons, cook meals, smelt ore, and man defensive towers. Thrall acquisition involves knocking out enemy NPCs, dragging them across the desert like questionable IKEA purchases, and converting them on a wheel of pain. Fallout settlers complain. Conan thralls quietly get back to work because the alternative is literally a return to the desert. Base design reflects population needs. Blacksmiths require forges, cooks require kitchen space, priests require altars, and archers need towers to look aesthetically dramatic while firing at invaders. Fallout turrets are effective but lack personality. Archers on battlements shouting war cries while dumping boiling tar on attackers have a certain charm. Purge events force builders to create layered defenses, outer walls to delay attackers, courtyards to funnel them, towers for ranged control, and interior sanctums that feel suspiciously like the place you keep rare materials. Progression from thatch huts to reinforced stone fortresses mirrors Fallout's Sanctuary to Castle arc, but with more religion and fewer lawn chairs. Main strengths: modular construction supports big multi-building compounds, forts, towns, layered walls. Thralls act as a base population you assign to crafting stations and guard roles, closest thing here to settlers. Purge raid systems reward thoughtful defensive settlement layouts and perimeter design. Building tiers and progression encourage iterate upgrading over time, from basic shelter to fortress. Main weaknesses: thralls are more placed workforce/units than Fallout-style settlers with a town sim vibe. Depending on settings, players may build a dedicated Purge defense structure, separate from the main pretty base. Tone's brutal survival plus slavery theme won't match every Fallout builder's vibe. Number 4. Satisfactory. Satisfactory approaches settlement building from a different angle entirely. Here the settlement is a machine. There are no villagers, enemies rarely challenge the base, and the focus shifts from protection to production. Yet for many Fallout players, especially those who delved into supply line logistics and resource management, the appeal is immediate. Satisfactory is about imposing order on infinite raw materials through industrial automation. The backbone of every base is the conveyor belt. Ores feed smelters, smelters feed constructors, constructors feed assemblers, and assemblers output components that fuel further research. The settlement is not a town, but a flowchart made physical. Every belt has a throughput, every machine has an input ratio, and efficiency becomes a creative pursuit. Where Fallout hides its resource flows behind invisible scrap mechanics, Satisfactory exposes them, demanding optimization and rewarding clarity. Verticality becomes essential as factories scale. 3-story production towers emerge, each floor dedicated to a specific production tier. Conveyor lifts shuffle materials between levels. Trains, trucks, drones, and hypertubes connect distant extraction sites to the primary hub. The act of watching ore mined at one horizon and deposited as advanced components at the other becomes oddly meditative. Research milestones and space elevator deliveries act as checkpoints rather than quests. Unlocking new tiers grants faster belts, more complex machines, and greater architectural freedom. The sense of progression mirrors the settlement growth arc, Fallout players know, but reframed around industrial capacity instead of population. For those drawn to the management side of Fallout settlements but uninterested in settler drama or defense, Satisfactory offers pure systems-driven satisfaction. Main strengths: first-person building with constant expansion scratches the just one more upgrade settlement addiction. Logistics are the star. Conveyors make supply flow visible and designable, like Fallout 4 supply lines, but hands-on. Progression unlocks increasingly powerful build options, enabling bigger and cleaner base evolutions. Supports massive builds and long-term projects. Mega factories equals mega settlements. Main weaknesses: no NPC settlers, jobs, or town life roleplay. This is industry/automation, not community rebuilding. Defense rates aren't a major driver, so turret and walls builders may miss that pressure. Number 5. Subnautica. Subnautica reframes settlement building as survival infrastructure. Bases are not monuments or automated factories, they are life support, built under crushing pressure with limited oxygen. The first base is typically a simple multi-purpose room anchored to the seafloor. Later, more complex installations emerge: scanner rooms, nuclear reactors, water filtration systems, and agricultural biodomes. The underwater environment introduces unique constraints. Depth affects structural integrity, forcing players to reinforce compartments with bulkheads and structural beams. Too much stress and hulls crack, compartments flood, and power systems short out. Fallout's building errors are mostly aesthetic. Subnautica's errors can end expeditions. Power systems deepen the logistics layer. Solar panels only function near the surface. Bioreactors consume organic matter to sustain energy overnight. Thermal plants draw power from volcanic vents. As a result, bases spread across multiple biomes, forming a network of safe havens stocked with batteries, medkits, and fabrication tools. The appeal for Fallout players lies in Subnautica's tone. Settlements feel like shelters against an indifferent world rather than playgrounds. The ocean is as hostile and enigmatic as the glowing sea, and bases exist because without them, exploration becomes suicidal. Building is quiet, methodical, and rooted in problem solving, making every successful expansion feel meaningful. Main strengths: modular base pieces plus resource scavenging gives a strong build-safe hubs across the map loop. Bases are functional survival infrastructure, power systems, not just decoration, similar to powering Fallout settlements. Outpost building is natural. Multiple small bases can support deeper exploration like a settlement network. Upgrades are tied to exploration/blueprints, rewarding the same loot to build better mentality. Main weaknesses: no population management, no settlers, jobs, shops, so it won't replicate the town fantasy. Placement constraints and integrity considerations can limit the sandbox feel compared to Fallout 4. Number 6. Ark Survival Evolved. Ark mixes settlement building with ecosystem management. Instead of settlers, the world is populated by creatures that can be hunted, tamed, bred, and used for labor. Fallout's Minutemen might defend a settlement, but in Ark, the equivalent is an army of genetically optimized dinosaurs. This shifts the core question from "how do I build a settlement?" to "who will staff and defend it?" Taming forms the foundation of Ark's progression. A simple tranquilizer bow can secure early herbivores that gather materials faster than players can by hand. Stronger tranquilizers and better equipment unlock apex predators capable of patrolling territory, hauling heavy resources, or serving as shock troops against rival players. The tamed population becomes an organic labor force, each species specializing in a role. The Ankylosaurus harvests metal. The Doiticurus gathers stone. The Argentavis transports cargo. The Rex guards the perimeter. Breeding introduces long-term investment. Eggs must be incubated under specific temperatures. Babies need imprinting to achieve better stats. The genetic lineage accumulates desirable traits in health, stamina, and damage. What begins as a small treehouse surrounded by walls eventually becomes an industrial-scale breeding complex, with air conditioners to manage incubation, cryofridges for storage, and massive metal gates to accommodate larger fauna. Where Fallout has supply lines, Ark has bloodlines. Base design reflects these priorities. Walls must be scaled to contain dinosaurs, not humans. Turrets and traps deter both predators and rival tribes. Material progression mirrors Fallout's transition from wood to concrete, but with a harsher PvP edge which is a liability, wood is temporary, stone is respectable, and metal is the true endgame for defensive infrastructure. Main strengths: strong start primitive, upgrade to fortified base progression through material tiers. Tamed creatures function like a base population, guards plus specialized gatherers, scratching the assigned role's itch in a different way. Defensive building matters: walls, gates, turrets, especially as threats scale. Long-term settlement development is real. Breeding programs and infrastructure create a persistent home ecosystem. Main weaknesses: creature upkeep/logistics can overwhelm the relaxing decorate and chill builder fantasy. Server meta, especially PvP, can push designs toward hidden bunkers over attractive settlements. Building polish/QoL can feel rougher than Fallout 4's workshop for fine decoration. Number 7. State of Decay 2. State of Decay 2 shifts the focus from construction to administration. Bases are not custom built block by block. Instead, players claim pre-existing structures, strip malls, police stations, container forts, and configure them through modular facility slots. Each slot supports a specific type of building: farms, workshops, infirmaries, shooting ranges, barracks. The settlement becomes a community rather than an architectural project. What separates State of Decay from Fallout's settler mechanics is the existence of morale and resource scarcity. Survivors consume food, meds, ammo, and building materials every in-game day. Failures cascade. Low food morale reduces productivity. Injuries sideline skilled survivors. Personality traits cause arguments. A survivor with anxiety may panic during a siege, wasting ammo or retreating at the worst moment. Leadership becomes crisis management, not aesthetics. Facilities provide stability but also require input. A level 3 infirmary cures blood plague but consumes meds. A hydroponics lab produces food but requires power. A sniper tower provides overwatch but burns ammo. Outposts expand the network, generating passive resources and providing fast travel like supply points. Leader types, builder, trader, sheriff, warlord, further differentiate late-game bases with unique facilities and passive bonuses. State of Decay 2 delivers a settlement fantasy that feels closer to crisis leadership than town building. It appeals to the same Fallout players who enjoyed managing food, water, defenses, and happiness, but delivers sharper consequences and more systemic personality. Main strengths: strong settlement management loop. Morale and supplies are tied to beds/resources, echoing Fallout's keep the settlement running idea. Facilities are purpose-driven, infirmary/workshop garden equivalents with upgrades and trade-offs, similar to Fallout utility objects. Outposts creates a strategic network layer that feels like Fallout 4's multiple settlements supporting each other. Community members have skills traits that affect base performance, making the settlers matter mechanically. Defense planning, what facilities, what base location, what outpost shapes survivability, like designing a Fallout settlement for attacks. Main weaknesses: not free-form building, bases are predefined and you place/upgrade facilities via slots rather than constructing structures piece by piece. Less architectural creativity than Fallout 4. The builder fantasy is more management/strategy than design. Survival pressure can interrupt long build sessions. Each of these games explores a different dimension of the settlement building impulse. Valheim cares about physics. 7 Days cares about whether your corridor system deserves to exist. Conan Exiles cares about labor, religion, and siege warfare. Satisfactory cares about throughput math. Subnautica cares about oxygen and structural integrity. Ark cares about genetics, feeding troughs, and the ethical implications of dinosaur daycare. State of Decay 2 cares about whether your survivors sleep enough to not start resource-based drama. Fallout 4 sits in the middle. RPG questing, scrap economy, town building, and mild defense. For players who enjoy the settlements more than Preston Garvey's quest notifications, these 7 games offer deeper systems, tougher tests, or stranger fantasy angles. The instinct stays the same. Take a hostile environment, Carve out a place that functions and call it home, even if home is underwater, guarded by wolves, powered by conveyor belts, or staffed by people who panic when the morale bar dips too low.